What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. Today, we're back with another tier list video for the month of April, and it's crazy, we're already the fourth month into 2024, man. Time is flying by. But we got quite a few new characters to talk about today. We're going to have the additions of the whole Driven-related stuff. You know, the Fearsome Foes celebration is continuing to roll on. Cross Guild, we'll talk about them throughout the video. We've got the Tobi Roppo 6+ to Arlong Crew, so the old one has been booted out, new icon in, Doffy Sugar, Moria Perona. Let's get into it. But before we do, we need to talk about my criteria that I have for the tier list, right? So we have like the overall power of the unit, so that obviously is going to give lots of credence if the character is very powerful in terms of damage, how fast can they actually clear content, and how reliable are they at clearing content as well. And is there content out there that they just cannot beat due to the design limitations of the character, and how usable or versatile is this unit? Can this unit be put on a lot of different teams? Because if they can, that's going to definitely help them out. And of course, this is all subjective. This is my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with it, and that's completely okay, because if everyone agreed with my opinion, we'd have a very, very, very boring community, that's for sure. We're going to start things off, though, with the old list. We're going to have a look and see if anything is slightly better. Now, the interesting thing is with this new introduction of characters that are driven or powerhouse, they got a lot of buffs throughout this celebration, but just more importantly, talking about this month, Cross Guild, I love this unit. This unit is amazing. Obviously, a little bit of design limitations in terms of the way that you kind of have to use it. You know, especially for the rush, you have to really use specific units. 2 of the listed units is pretty rough for their rush, but the unit itself is so cool and can be used in lots of different scenarios. So obviously that really helps. So that's for Driven and Slasher. The Tobi Roppo is a huge buff, actually, to Magma Kaido. I think it's a really nice release. Not a character that really a lot of people are going to pull for. We got Arlong Crew, and then we got the 2 new characters here, which are focusing on Driven and Cerebral, giving them some nice buffs. So if we have a look at what we have here, in terms of the tier 5 listing, I mean, nothing really stands out aside from maybe a couple of units, right? V2 Doflamingo, very good in this PKA adventure, and he is a Driven unit with level limit break, has a great special, great captain ability, actually, I believe. If I remember correctly, I think he actually resists special reverse as a captain, and then his special ability gets a really nice buff. So honestly, like, I honestly think this guy should be buffed up quite high. Like, he's actually a really good unit, and if there's any content without normal attacks only on the final stage, Doflamingo's gonna go crazy, right? But in terms of everything else, yeah, look, nothing has really changed all that much for these units on this list. I mean, there's probably a bunch of units in here that could probably be put on the list, but yeah, I am planning on making some adjustments to the way that the tier list is ran. I'll try and figure stuff out. I know I mentioned it last month, didn't get around to doing it, but we'll see how things go moving forward. Moving on up into tier 4, V3, or V1 Cruiser, should I say. Still sticking there, love that unit. Unit is a beast. I did have Doffy and Croc up quite high, but honestly, I kind of want to bump them down, mainly just because there's not a lot of use cases for this unit. The main use of this unit really is going to be if there's content where you're inflicted with stun and you need a special that can reduce your crew's health, because this unit's actually pretty good in that scenario. The issue as well with this unit and why it's not as good during this month is because it has overlap with Doffy Sugar and Cross Guild. So that really hurts the unit overall, and whenever they release better versions of Doffy or Croc, this unit will kind of conflict with that, which really hurts, because whenever they release a lot of Driven support, Doffy, when he releases, usually is Driven support. Crocodile usually is Cerebral support, which is what this unit is kind of doing, right? Having a look at the rest of tier 4, again, nothing really stands out. Moria is actually a really nice unit. Even when this guy came out, I was a big fan of Gecko Moria, and I do think that he's kind of like an underrated legend, to be honest. Conjurer, I actually did use him a little bit throughout this month, which is kind of funny. Really, really good in the, what do you call it? In the Super Boss Kizuna, actually was pretty good. But as for the rest of tier 4, again, like, it's pulling at straws, really. Like, there's nothing really that crazy in tier 4. And I'm sure not too many people are going to be that upset about certain characters being in tier 4, honestly. Moving on to tier 3, again, we've got some pretty nice units. I did put S-Hawk in here. I still think he's really good. Big fan of this unit. Honestly, he's better than Hawkins, for sure. He's definitely better than Hawkins. He's honestly better than a lot of these units here, to be quite honest. I mean, removing Paralysis and Special Bind, having Fear Resistance, remove it on himself as a crewmate. Huge positive. Capone Crew, really nice with the new units as well. big fan of that. Actually, one thing that I am thinking about, where is Perispero? Is he up here? Yeah, he's Perispero, really nice buffs throughout this month as well. I guess we can jump up to tier 2 as well. Perispero, definitely really nice this month for the driven related stuff. Still a big fan of that unit, honestly. Doesn't really see much play, and it is annoying because his super class effect needs 6 strikers on your crew. It's annoying that it doesn't say like 6 strikers or driven characters. Would have been so much more nicer. It is what it is. Momonosuke, one of the most underrated legends. A lot of people like memed on this unit and how bad he was, but he actually was goated. This unit is really, really good. It's going to be funny looking back at the GGP awards because a lot of people ranked him as one of the worst legends of the year. At the time, he definitely was, but with the introduction of all of the quick slasher stuff, Momo is definitely still very, very good. We got Odin Toki. I kind of want to bump them a little bit lower than the Sulongs. I feel like the Sulongs are still quite valuable to have. This Bonnie's okay. This Blackbeard got a bit of a buff for sure. This Jack is actually super good too. I kind of want to bump him up like to here. This Jack is super good. Really nice unit. Good like damage boosting and utility focus special. And he has good synergy of course. And he has a super tandem, so that's all well and good. Super tandem Big Mom of course. Izo is just pretty bad. Izo is honestly like down here to be honest. He's a little bit better than Hawkins though, let's be real. Let's bump up to tier 1. So tier 1, we're getting into the more powerful characters now. 6 plus Kaido, obviously still really, really nice. He was good this month. Dude, Rayleigh? V3 Rayleigh, honestly, is one of my favorite super evolutions in this game. One of my favorite units. They did this guy so well. Obviously, he's not perfect. There's still issues, and he's designed very well. He's a well-balanced unit, I would say. I do think that he is incredibly valuable to own. I kind of want to bump him, like, super high. But, like, I feel like these units are just better to have. Otama, I think I'm going to bump her down a little bit. I don't own Otama personally, so I can't really say if this character is, like, it's the bee's knees or not. But, like, Otama on paper does seem good. Good synergy with, like, powerhouse-related units. The Super Sugo Big Mom, great synergy with that unit. But not my favorite design unit ever. I just don't think she's really going to see that much play. Final Tap Luffy, he doesn't deserve to be up here, to be honest. He's just like Unga Bunga damage, and the issue is that there's characters that are out these days that just do better Unga Bunga than what this character does. He doesn't really have utility. Yes, he does have some cool synergies with attack and all boosting stuff. He is a Luffy, gets access to the best supports. Super Type is actually okay. Final Tap is one of the best Final Tap in terms of base attack boosting, and the fact you can have support Sabo, this can be one of the largest hitting hits in the game. But there's better Unga Bunga units, there's better Luffys that you can use past this guy, but you can build teams with him very easily. So, how much credence do you give to that? I don't know. I think I'm going to put him at the bottom of tier 1, to be honest. He's just, he doesn't deserve to be here. Halloween Ace, one of my favorite units. He's super good. Rayleigh Gaban, super good. Now, Blackbeard, we've actually had quite a lot of time to use him, and I actually like what Blackbeard does. My issue is team building with this guy is a nightmare. Very annoying to team build for, not only just because of the fact that his special is like so focused around what kind of slots you have, but the other issue with Blackbeard is that if you want to get like all of the effects to activate and line up, you need to have fighter, shooter, striker, and slasher on your crew, and the fact that Blackbeard fulfills none of those class conditions can really hurt, albeit you don't really care about running double Blackbeard a lot of the time. You can get away with just running, you know, one Blackbeard as one of the captains, and then the other captain can be something else. But the other issue is, of course, you just having to have those class mechanics, and also having one of the units on your crew be one of the Blackbeard pirates to trigger the super type or the super class. At least you only need one of the listed characters, unlike, where is he? This dude right here made him an EX, or he wasn't even EX super, he was a super class with such an absurd condition. At least Blackbeard's condition is much more easily achievable. But I'm saying all this because I don't think he deserves to be above Rayleigh Gaban. I think Rayleigh Gaban is just a better overall unit. He's like a rainbow, you can run whatever you want, and you just kind of get a lot out of him. Even though Blackbeard on paper is also very, very good. On paper, very, very strong, just very annoying to team build for. And if you have Blackbeard, you kind of would understand what I'm talking about. It's actually really, really annoying. But the rest of the units here are really good. I still love Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo, but there's not too many times you're going to be utilizing shooter squads. Lilith is really good. Sabo is really good. Robin and Koala saw a little bit of play in that PKA. Really nice to remove barriers, color affinity, orb boost. Really good effect. And then also the captain ability, resisting special reverse, which a lot of people forget about. A really good effect. So yeah, still love this unit being up here. We move on to tier 0, and yeah, this is where we have the big boys. And looking at this, I kind of actually want to bump Yamato up a little bit. I think I kind of undersold Yamato a little bit. The fact that, like, she has the blind removal captain is actually super good, and you can synergize her really well with good slashers or striker units. Yamato is really strong, you know. I kind of gave her a bit of crap when she first debuted. I wasn't like the biggest fan of the unit. The fact that her special is so focused around color affinity, usually specials that are solely focused around that color affinity isn't that great, but in a super boss scenario where you have her final tap, it's quite incredible some of the stuff that Yamato is able to achieve. As for the rest of the units here, like Odin and Roger, they're still very good. Although I feel comfortable leaving just about everything where this is. I don't really have any qualms with this. I guess we can move on to the top 5 as well. I don't really think there's many changes here that need to happen. Like, yeah, it's like nitpicking. Yeah, you could put like Zoro here and then Sanji here. I guess I kind of like that. You know what? I'm going to put Zoro Sanji as the second best unit in the game. And to be honest, there's a pretty good argument for putting Zoro and Sanji as the #1 unit in the game. The thing about it is with recent super bosses, a lot of times they're putting a lot of restrictions on you, which makes it really difficult to abuse Gear 5 in the right scenario. And due to that, it means that the final tap being maxed out for the rainbow damage obviously is very good. But the fact that Zoro and Sanji are built the way that they're built, and all of the effects that you can get, and I mean, we can go through them. The super swap getting you attack boost, orb boost, full board of tandem slots, the special buffing of the attack and orb boost, removing defensive effects. You get the EX super to make everyone, all the units that become Slasher Free Spirit get the EX for those classes, or the super classes of Slasher and Free Spirit. You got chain boost, chain multiplicative buff, tap timing, chain boost. They're a Zoro and a Sanji unit, so you get access to some of the best supports in the game. This unit just does so much. And you know what? After listing all of that, I'm just going to put it as the #1 unit in the game right now. Because I used Zoro and Sanji more than I used Gear 5 in the last month or so. I think this unit's busted. This unit is way too good. Like, super overtuned. A lot of people still disagree with Uta at the top. I'm a big fan of Uta. I don't care. It's my list. I think Uta is one of the best legends in the game. She's amazing. She's super good. Luffy Yamato, I was just looking at the list and I just saw Luffy Yamato sitting there. I really hate this unit. I mean, I know some people love it. I'm a big hater. I'm such a huge Yamato and Luffy hater, to be honest. Not a fan of that unit at all. Super Tandem Luffy, I mean, a lot of people might disagree with him being up so high, but it's fine. I mean, I think he's pretty good. And then Magma Kaido. Yeah, this is all pretty well and good. I'm pretty comfortable with all of this. So, if you disagree, let me know down below in the comment section. Where would you put some of these characters? Is there characters near the top that you would put up here? What do you think? So, I guess with all that, we can now start talking about some of the new additions into One Piece Treasure Cruise this month. Cross Guild is going to be the first character we talk about, the new additions to the tier list. This character just does so much. This character is really cool. I mean, it was a pleasant surprise. We were kind of expecting this to happen at some point, but it was just nice to finally see it actually happen. Driven Slasher, and then the Captain ability, and a big thing that a lot of people tend to forget is that this character does have the ability to just remove despair all the time, and changes the ability to become -2 cooldown to your captains. That's dope. Tandem slots matching. You get the -1 cooldown to Driven Slasher. They get -3 cooldown to themselves. Big attack multipliers, of course. And they also have health boost, 1.3, and 20% damage reduction. So they are very tanky as a captain. And then, of course, they're special with multiple different effects. The set target status, which is essentially increased damage taken through immunity, that is just a 2x increased damage taken. And then whenever you kill something with it, not only are you just getting a cooldown reduction to the unit that kills it, that's Driven or Slasher, but the big thing about this unit, why it just works so well, is that you can use their first special, Inflict Set Target. They get -13 turns of cooldown, and then if you have expansion on them, obviously it's 15 turns. 2 more turns of cooldown, which you can just move on to the next stage, and then with a preemptive attack, you're good to go. But the big thing is if you kill an enemy with the set target status, that's one of the conditions to fulfill for their EX super, which is great. If you defeat an enemy with set target status, you can trigger their EX super, which can give you the effect of launching their special again and again to get all of these effects. And then, of course, the effect #1 is really good. So effect 0 is good, effect 1 is good, This is the one that you'd probably use most of the time, removing defensive effects, fixed damage, and the cool thing is like the damage dealing happens on effect too. So you can, like, if you have a support that triggers on a damage dealing special, their first special won't trigger it, but then the second special will. So you can do cool scenarios with that. And then it also gives a really good orb boost for 2 turns, and then you get this other effect to remove despair, which if you use them as a sub is probably why you'd have that. And then also the chain boundary for 3 turns is just great, and resistance down, can't forget that. And the EX Super giving further resistance, and the support is decent too. It's a really good support. And then of course their Rush Sugar special giving buffs to Driven and Slasher, but the only issue is you need to have 2 of the listed characters, which can be a little bit limiting in terms of team design. But all in all, I am pleasantly surprised with how good this character is, even though the EX Super can be kind of annoying to launch, because sometimes you want to build the team in a certain way, but you know, you can just use the set target status to get it, but sometimes you want to keep the set target status for the final stage. It's still cool though. You can have some great synergies with it as well, because you can run like your mono driven team, you can change it up and run a slasher team, and we already know how good slashers are. They've got some really nice offensive threats. Driven have received a lot of buffs as well. So this character is usable in a lot of scenarios. And as of right now, this is one of my favorite units to use in the game, and I think right now I'm going to list it up quite high. I mean, I think this unit is really good, and I think this character is just going to see more and more play moving forward. The only issue is you really want to have that expansion to make the character just work and flow a lot better. So the next character on the list is the Tobi Roppo, and look, to be honest, this is a character that's probably not going to see a lot of play. This character is basically only going to see a lot of play with Magma Kaido. This character is basically built to be used with that unit, and the whole reason why I say that is because this character does have a special ability that can provide color affinity. It's a really good color affinity boost, by the way, but it also has an effect that can give themselves a guaranteed tandem slot, which can actually change their own block, super block, Wano, Similar, or a rainbow slot into tandem. So basically, no matter what slot you have, you can always get a tandem slot, which is one of the issues with Magma Kaido as a unit, because you're generating so many of these Wano slots. Getting super tandem is actually really difficult when you're using Kaido as captain. So having a unit that can guarantee a tandem slot no matter what, and then you have this super tandem effect when you haven't maxed out, or even at level 4, I believe, you only need one other character on the list, and then you can just trigger the super tandem. So this allows you to flow really good into the Rush Sugar special of Magma Kaido. And yeah, it's not the best super tandem ever, it's a 2x buff, but it's better than the free-to-play lead performers that we've had up until this point. So that's all well and good. But in terms of what the character just does by itself outside of Magma Kaido, it's pretty mid. I mean, it does have additional damage in the captain if they have certain status effects inflicted. Quick slots become Wano slots, which can be kind of clutch if you're running a mono strength team and you're inflicted with badly matching slots. That can be kind of cool. And then the special ability does remove 10 turns of Rainbow Shield, but it's kind of interesting how we just had the batch of Blackbeard and Jesus Burgess that had all these effects that could just ignore or set % damage reduction to 0. Then they release this for the Kizuna, and it just removes 10 turns of it. Like, why would you want to remove it when you can just bypass it with these other effects that you just released? Very weird design choice to have this. And then you basically get like an attack boost and a chain boost if you already have color affinity. Otherwise, you get the color affinity. As I said, this basically is only used with Magma Kaido. The unit by itself is still usable though. Like, even if you don't have Magma Kaido, you can still use this unit for what it is. But are you really going to though? Probably not. I mean, if we talk about like in terms of the utility units are probably still going to see more play over this unit. So I guess we'll leave it around here. That's fine. I'm not a big fan of the Tobi Roppo unit, but as I said, very good with Magma Kaido. But the issue is getting this character to at least Super Tandem level 4 to actually be viable in that team. So most likely not going to see a lot of play for a very long time. So a little bit of a pleasant surprise seeing that Arlong Crew was going to be the next Super Evolution in the month of March, but unfortunately I feel like they kind of missed the mark on this unit. The fact that we had started off the year with characters like 6+ Kaido and we had 6+ V3 Rayleigh, These super evolutions were fantastic buffs for these units. And then we get to Arlong Crew, and yeah, Arlong definitely had a weird design. Even on release, a lot of people didn't like him, so you would have thought they would have changed it a little bit. But maybe it's due to the fact that this is one of the required units to really clear one of those Grand Voyages. Like one of the Grand Voyages in Arlong Park, you needed Arlong on your team to get the team to work. And this is basically the only viable Arlong that you could use for that content. And I feel like maybe just the design of that content is kind of the reason why they left the unit the way that it was. I'm not really too sure, but the unit didn't get a hell of a lot, really. I mean, -3 cooldown as a captain is obviously really cool, but you do still need one of every character, one of every color on your crew to get the big attack boost. And then you also get the effect of completely resisting special reverse on himself only. I would have definitely much preferred it if it would just resist 5 turns or even 10 turns of special reverse for the whole crew instead of just for himself. But I kind of get it too, because this character special does do the special cooldown for all characters, so why would he need to have it as a captain if his special already does it? But I mean, characters like Alba, they do it for themselves, I guess, but it's weird. It would have been better if it was for the whole crew either way. The switch effect did get a really nice buff actually, so after 6 swaps, it does reduce the cooldown of himself by 2 turns, which is neat. Changes his own slot, including block into matching. It does do a little bit of damage, which is interesting. It's not a lot of damage, but it's damage nonetheless. And then you get the base attack boost, which is a much more significant base attack boost than what we had previously. But it's not like the best switch ever, let's be real here. The cool thing though is that the special ability is very interesting. So it does have an effect where if you have 30% or lower HP, you get a 2.75 attack boost for 1 turn. If you're above 30%, it's 2.5. But then the added effect that if you have one of every color on the crew, you increase the attack buff by 0.5. And you also extend the duration of attack and base attack by 2 turns. So if you're able to super switch at 1 HP, getting 1240 base attack, and you have a 2.75 buffed up to 3.25 attack. And it's for all characters, by the way, for the base attack and the attack boost. And then you could use the special to make it 3-turn base attack, 3-turn attack boost. But that is requiring you to be below 30% and have one of every color on the crew. Otherwise, you could still get, you know, a 2.5 times buffed up to 3, and still make that last for 3 turns if you have one of every color. So that could be usable. 3 turns of, at a minimum, 3 times attack boost is really good. It's actually a really, really good effect. But, like, I just don't think this character received that great of a buff. But that's all this really character is. It's just Unga Bunga, do a lot of damage, lots of cooldown. It can be useful for sure, but they're just better characters you could use in this scenario. And for all of those reasons, I just think this character is just kinda not great. I guess I'll put him maybe here. Like, he's interesting. I just don't think he's a great character overall. So now we get into the new batch that just dropped. So we got Doffy and Sugar. This unit's pretty cool, actually. So both the new units, Doffy Sugar, Moria Perona, being driven and cerebral focused. And, you know, this character as a captain is really cool. You know, it's pretty basic stuff here, but the cool thing is the fact that you get the 10-turn removal of Special Bind. So that's obviously really, really nice. 6 times attack if you've got empty G or a beneficial slot. That's pretty unique for this unit. The fact that they say G is really cool for, like, Lao G. So maybe they're going to introduce a new Lao G in the future. That'd be pretty neat. Doubt it, but interesting. The switch effect is actually really good on this unit. So the super switch, removing despair completely. So that effect is not great. Dual units that have effects to remove despair only on themselves is so mid. No one cares about this because rarely you'll ever be despaired on one of your captains. 99% of the time, both captains are inflicted with despair, so this really doesn't matter unless if you have 2 despair removing switch effects. But the other effect, changing orb, including block into matching, ignores debuff protection and inflicts enemies with 1.75 increased damage taken and 50% attack down for the enemies, also for 1 turn. Attack down is kind of whatever, but it makes sense with the whole unit's design because the special of this unit, it gets better and better the more debuffs that are inflicted on the enemy side of the field. With this switch effect alone, you're already getting this through immunity and the 50% attack reduction, so that's pretty neat. The special itself, removing barriers by 3, is dope, really cool effect. and then also dealing 1 times overkill damage. So that's just a neat little effect to get. Again, if there's no normal attacks only, this effect is broken. And then you fuse into the dual unit for 2 turns. So that's actually kind of fascinating because there aren't too many legends that release that do 2-turn combinations. Like, a lot of free-to-play units do that. So the fact that a Sugarfest exclusive of this caliber is only fusing for 2 turns, don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Interesting. It also will boost color affinity of Driven Cerebral by a variable factor based on the amount of status effects. So if you have 8 or more, you get the max capacity, which gives you a 3 times color affinity buff, as it gets buffed by 0.25. And then if you have a Driven or Cerebral Captain, you get a weakened status on the opponent. So it's a 1.5 increased damage taken, which stacks with increased damage taken. And if you have increased damage taken and the weakened status, it's a 1.25 times additional multiplier, which is super good. So the fact that you could have, let me pull up the calculator real quick. So you could have the 1.75 through immunity, you could have the 1.5 times from weakened, and then a 1.25 from the additional if you have increased damage taken. So just with the weakened and increased damage taken, you're already doing 3.28 times more damage to the opponent. Just from the switch effect and the special. That's not accounting for matching slots, not accounting for attack boost, or boost, color affinity, conditional boost, what you have you, right? And he has the overkill damage too. So there's some pretty neat stuff going on here, right? 14 turn cooldown after expansion. Pretty neat character. Does not have final tap, super tandem, or rush. So that is interesting. Doffy and Sugar. Very interesting character, but again, like, whenever we get like new Doffy characters, they're usually always driven focused, which means that they have inherent overlap with each other. Very similar to the superclass Doflamingo, actually, because this character is also driven focused, has a full border matching slots, attack boost, or boost, and a captain ability that removes special bind. The only issue is that this character, like, just has higher multipliers and has the increased damage taken, the weakened status, the utility, which is just more valuable than this Doffy, and also it also has the overkill damage stuff too. So, Doffy and Sugar, where will they go? I feel like at a bare minimum, they will be in tier 1, because I just think that they're good, because Driven and Cerebral are good classes, and they just work well. You can hybrid this up with, like, Cross Guild, for example. You've got Despair Reduction, you have Special Bind Removal with this unit. You can do whatever you want. You can do some really cool stuff with this unit. I think I want to put this just below V3 Rayleigh for now. But Doffy Sugar is a really nice unit to have. And then we move on to the final character of the video, Moria Perona. Again, Driven Cerebral Focus Badge with Doffy Sugar, Quick and Int. Captain ability is kind of mediocre. This is like the worst part of this unit. It just doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, cooldown, HP, attack boost, and then more attack if they're inflicted with a status effect. You get more matching slots, okay. It just doesn't do a whole lot. So, Captain ability, take it or leave it. This character is probably going to be better as a sub anyway. Move on to their switch effect. It does inflict negative to the opponent that goes through immunity, so that's big. And then also you get the 25% resistance for Cerebral and Driven. So this character getting both of these buffs is just big damage. And also get a bit of healing at the end of the turn. So there's not too many scenarios where this is going to be good, but there could be some cool scenarios where, like, you know, you have damage reduction, you have like a huge like chunk of health taken away, and just getting 8,000 heal at the end of the turn just actually could be really good. Getting 2,000 heal just generically as well is just nice too. So yeah, Super Switch is fine. There's definitely going to be neat uses for it, but the negative through debuff protection is obviously very big. And then the special ability, it's a damage dealing special. You get attack boost, and then if you have 8 or more status effects on the opponent, you can actually buff the attack boost. And then also just generically you'll get bind and a burn removal by 6, which is nice. And then you get a conditional boost against enemies inflicted with increased damage taken or the negative status by 2.5 for 1 turn. And you paralyze all enemies for 2 turns, and you fuse for 2 turns. The paralysis inflicted on the enemy, it obviously makes sense with the whole design of this badge. You want to have 8 status effects on the opponent or more. So this effect doesn't matter that much. The big thing is 2.5 times conditional boost, and at a bare minimum a 2.5 times attack boost for Driven and Cerebral. So this unit providing huge damage, utility, damage dealing special, all just in one special is great. And, you know, obviously doesn't have rush, final tap, super tandem. But the big thing about this is that this unit has fantastic synergy with Cross Guild, because one of the conditions for Cross Guild's EX and their rush is you need Perona on the crew. And obviously Moria and Perona fulfilling that condition is big, whilst also providing conditional boost, attack boost, and Cross Guild, they do orb boost, chain boundary, resistances, They just work perfectly together. So I do think that this character is kind of like almost on the same level as Doffy and Sugar. I think Doffy and Sugar will see more play, because I think what they do is needed in more content compared to what Moria and Perona do. But I like that Moria and Perona have nice uses right now with Cross Guild. So I could be a bit biased leaving them in tier 1, but I think they're just really dope. I think that they're really, really good. So I think I'll leave them around this level here. They've got some good driven stuff here, cerebral focus stuff. People actually might rank this a bit higher. People may put them a little bit higher. And I guess you gotta remember that they are up to like over 6 times attack. I mean, this character with all the debuffs can get up to over a 6.5 times attack boost. Doffy and Sugar can receive the 6 times attack boost in their dual form very comfortably, very, very easily. So I guess Doffy and Sugar, I think, are a better unit overall. I'm gonna bump them a little bit higher. But then, like, Moria and Perona, I think that they're going to see a little bit of play as well, but Doffy and Sugar, I think, just slightly edge them out, honestly. Not by much, though, but I think that they're slightly better. I think they'll see a bit more play. But anyways, guys, that is my tier list for the month of April 2024. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about this one down below in the comment section. Also, if you guys enjoyed this one, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.